Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. As Scouts head out on day 3 of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour, they won't be just trying to survey and measure corn and soybeans, but trying to stay cool. High heat in the forecast again today for both the eastern and western legs of the tour. Take a look at this map from the National Weather Service. Check out the maximum daytime high temperatures for today. Around Illinois and Iowa, where Scouts will be spending their day, temperatures are expected to be in the triple digits. And it's much the same story on Thursday.
Coverage of the 2023 Pro Farmer Crop Tour is brought to you by Pioneer. Pioneer combines cutting-edge research with one of the largest local testing programs in the industry to help farmers succeed. Pioneer, what's next happens here.
And it's obviously not just people that will be suffering in this high heat, but crops and livestock as well. But the heat started to creep in on Tuesday as Scouts in the east made their way from Indiana into Bloomington, Illinois. Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan kicks off our team coverage of day 2 of the tour. From there, Tyne, drought not much of an issue in Indiana, and USDA has called for record corn yields for that state.
Well, Clinton, we know that just one route does not speak for the entire state, but the route we were on Tuesday in Indiana, Scouts there definitely did not see record yields. And part of that may have been due to the dryness that hit in early June.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
As day 2 of Pro Farmer Crop Tour sprawled across Indiana in the east,
Pull out of here.
Scouts found a solid stand count in corn. And in soybeans,
Count 39.
the pod counts were also strong. But for Eastern Leg agronomist Mark Bernard, Indiana's corn crop wasn't impeccable on his route.
Well, a little bit disappointing on the corn side relative to what the hype was when we came out here. On this route anyway, on the first 4 samples, it hasn't really blown me away.
Bernard says field by field, he was more impressed with what he saw in Ohio the day before.
The first one out of the chute today looked really, really good, but it was only 14 kernels around, so that takes a little bite out of your yield. We're probably looking at someplace in the 190 range. And that's not bad, but it isn't the 200 plus that I was expecting to see.
Most of the things that we see right now that are having trouble or challenges were planted after Mother's Day and on.
But Brian Schrader says even with those issues, he still thinks his area of Indiana will see an above average crop.
What percentage of that above average will be seen at this point, but I feel very good about where we're at. Little disease coming in late that could have some impact, maybe not so much on plant yield, but on harvestability.
The biggest concern right now, tar spot.
In my geography, I'm seeing it significantly higher levels than what I've seen in the past years.
He says it's the crop planted after Mother's Day that's the most susceptible right now. It's also the later planted soybeans he's concerned could take a hit from this week's heat.
There's a lot of these beans that, because of our recent rains, have got some pods in the top that could still come on and develop, but the heat could really have an impact and take those out.
There we go.
We're seeing very deeply rooted plants in general on the tour, and that means that the plants are breaking off at the stem instead of coming out by the roots, which is unusual. It shows that there was moisture stress in June, which has caused the plants to become more deeply rooted, and now they're more resilient.
A possible sign of hope that these soybeans could weather some of this week's heat. Reporting from Eastern Leg of the Pro Farmer Crop Tour for Ag Day, I'm Tyne Morgan.
All right, thanks, Tyne. In the West, Scouts were entirely focused on Nebraska, and as they traveled, drought conditions were becoming more evident. The latest drought monitor putting more than half of the state in drought, with almost 15% in extreme and even some areas in exceptional drought. This part of the tour traveling from Grand Island, Nebraska to Nebraska City. Ag Day's Michelle Rook traveling with the Scouts there. And Michelle, the high heat making things even more difficult for Nebraska growers.
There's no doubt that this year's crop in Nebraska will be better than it was a year ago, but areas of lingering drought and especially this season's heat have once again trimmed yield potential. This has been a familiar sound in Nebraska this year, with many farms applying near to record amounts of irrigation water, and they aren't done yet.
It's been nonstop since we've been planting. A lot of pre-watering early on too. We just got to keep pumping as much water as we can.
You know, we're definitely going to be doing some irrigation into September.
Add the excessive heat and pivots have not been able to keep up, which is trimming top-end yield on corn.
I think we're definitely going to take some off the top. You know, probably test weight in the corn for sure. You know, we're just really affecting that grain fill period.
And crop scouts found good but not great yield potential on that crop.
I'm going to call the irrigation crop in Nebraska about normal.
Irrigated soybeans still look healthy with good potential, but farmers expect yields to be off of average.
I think before this hot spell on our irrigated stuff, we had a chance to be a little bit above our APH, and I think this hot spell will kind of bring us back down into that area and level.
And with the lingering drought in Nebraska, dryland corn has suffered again this season.
But I think what we're counting for the corn crop is probably, if we get a 150 yield, I'm guessing it's probably going to be close to that.
Soybeans held up better under drought stress, with their pod counts only running 6 to 7% less than irrigated, but he says they won't finish with this weather.
They're going to lose that top cluster. So they're going to end up being 10, 12% less minimum because they won't be able to fill, because right now the 11-day forecast has no rain in it.
Despite these challenges, the crop is still better than last year's catastrophic losses.
In Nebraska, I think they've had some late rains, and I think that's really going to help fill this crop out, both corn and soybeans, for the dryland.
In Nebraska, I'm Michelle Rook reporting for Ag Day.
All right, thanks, Michelle. And let's take a moment to go over results from day 1 of the tour. In the East and Ohio, Pro Farmer Scouts calling for 183.9 bushels per acre for corn. That's up more than 9 bushels from last year, also ahead of the 3-year average. Checking out soybeans in the state, 1,252.9 pods in a 3x3 foot square. That's up more than 10% from a year ago and up almost 8% from the 3-year average. Back out west and in South Dakota, where corn yields are expected to be 157.4 bushels to the acre, a whopping 33% higher than a year ago, but up 5% from the 3-year average. As for soybeans, 1,013 pods in a 3x3 foot square. That's up 16% from last year, but down more than 2.5% from that 3-year average.